for the New York City firefighters that were threatened. That's right, guys. FDNY reverses course on the hunt for firefighters who booed Letitia James and cheered Donald Trump's name. Thankfully, the New York City Fire Department will not have to join the NYC truckers in their boycott efforts. Now, before we begin with this here, guys, I just want to go ahead and thank you guys for I want to thank you so much for clicking the like button for this video. It means a lot to me. You have no idea. It takes a lot of time to research this content to be able to share it with my community. And I also want to say that because of you guys, literally because of you guys, our amazing community, the huge outpouring of support that I receive from you guys sharing these videos, it's because of this that it's very clear that the powers that be had to pull back their threats on the New York City firefighters. Now, just a couple of updates before we get into this, before we get into what happened with our firefighters. Less than 48 hours ago, federal criminal defense attorney Caroline Polisi literally said, Fulton County, Georgia, District Attorney Fani Willis's prosecution of former President Trump could be the death knell if she is removed from the case. Now, the attorney acknowledged that the case would still be going on if Fani Willis was in fact disqualified from it by Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee because of her alleged affair with Nathan Wade, a prosecutor who she hired for the case. However, Pelosi, not to be confused with Nancy Pelosi, this is an attorney by the name of Pelosi. Her last name is spelled a little bit differently. Anyway, so Pelosi predicted that it could very well lose all momentum once Donald Trump's case in Georgia is reassigned to another governing body. So this is a major win for Donald Trump, even in the early stages, guys. So Pelosi went ahead and made the claim as Willis's Georgia election interference case was hit by yet another string of setbacks. Every setback for the Georgia election case, for the Georgia election interference case with Donald Trump is yet another, it is yet another win for Donald Trump. So every loss effectively for Fani Willis and Nathan Wade ultimately is a win for Donald Trump. It is a win for Ashley Merchant and Steve Sadow and all of Donald Trump's team, not to mention all of the co-defendants on the Georgia election case with Donald Trump. So now, Judge McAfee just yesterday threw out 6 counts against Trump. This is a big win. But what I do want to share with you guys is cooler heads prevail after brass put alarming heat on the FDNY hecklers of Attorney General Letitia James. Now, first of all, what do you guys think? Do you think that Letitia James was a little bit overboard during that ceremony? I mean, come on. Based on what I heard, the firefighters really didn't even want Letitia James to be at the ceremony. And they already knew that the firefighters, had a pretty large Trump supporting base. So what did you really think was going to happen? And a lot of these firefighters, if not all of them, they weren't even in uniform. So the fact that they attacked these firefighters in their off time, on their off hours, is just a little bit, it's a little overboard if you ask me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Just let me know if you think that the firefighters were, just taken advantage of, or basically they were just too hard on the firefighters. Or if you disagree, if you think that the firefighters should have been reprimanded, you can say that as well. But let me know what you guys think about that. So anyway, yesterday, I shared with my community how a pair of Staten Island lawyers by the name of Mark Fonte and Louis Gerlamino, they offered to represent any Big Apple firefighter for free if they ended up getting jammed up for booing Attorney General Letitia James at last week's ruckus promotion ceremony. Now, if you guys remember, Letitia James, for those of you guys who aren't really caught up to speed, Letitia James, she's the Attorney General out in New York City. She defended New York with there were no victims, so she really just kind of almost defended herself. There was a case against Donald Trump, basically, that he inflated his asset values in New York City to get bigger loans, to get more money from banks, yada, 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 right? Ultimately, Judge Engeron hit Donald Trump and his family with $500 million in fines. Basically, it's about 455, 456, maybe $457 million fine by this point with the interest that's been added. Anyway, truckers went crazy. They said, hey, we're going to boycott New York City. We're not making any deliveries to New York City. It's already too expensive. And this is just on top of all the other issues that New York City is dealing with. There's a flood of migrants coming into the city. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Anyway, so the response was just blown completely out of proportion, guys. And let me know if you think that the response that that was handed down to the firefighters in New York City who save lives every single day. They put their lives on the line every day. They went overboard in their response to the firefighters booing and cheering Trump, Trump, Trump in the crowds. There was a letter. There was some type of written correspondence that went out and ultimately said, if you're being hunted, it ultimately said that firefighters will be hunted down if they didn't admit to who booed and whatnot. So anyway, there was a response that came out actually from the attorneys, and it said, if you're being hunted down by FDNY brass for exercising your freedom of speech, contact our office at once. The men's firm, F&G Legal Group, they wrote in a letter to the fire department's rank and file. Now get this, guys. Firefighters just got even more legal backing as NYC councilwoman defends the First Amendment rights of firefighters, scolded for booing Attorney General Letitia James and cheering Trump. So basically, the firefighters got even more support from another attorney. So ultimately, let's see. A New York City council member came to the defense of the firefighters who booed New York City Attorney General Letitia James because they were looking for the staff who broke department regulations. Are you freaking kidding me, guys? I mean, really? Anyway, so Councilwoman Joanne Areola said, and that really is her last name. That sounds like a McCarthyism to me. Quote, there should be no retribution for this. This isn't the first time that booing happened. Mayor Bill de Blasio was booed by the police department on multiple occasions. And we all saw what happened to the police department during the Bill de Blasio administration and how it was destroyed and dismantled. And we cannot let remnants from that administration do that to our firefighters. Let me know if you guys agree with this situation here, guys. I mean, they destroyed the New York City Police Department, the NYPD. Can you imagine if they destroy the FDNY? I mean, this is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The booing erupted last Thursday as James took the podium to honor the swearing in of the first African-American woman chaplain of the FDNY, the Reverend Pamela Holmes, as well as other responders. Now, here's the other thing to keep in mind. The booing only went on for 15 seconds? Like, what's the big freaking deal? And why is Letitia James on such a high horse where, all of this hoopla needs to be applied to these firefighters who simply voice their opinion? And normally Letitia James wouldn't even be at an event like this. So I don't even understand why are we even dealing with this here? Why is Donald Trump being attacked? Like, there's so much that just doesn't make any sense. A lot of people are asking, like, why are all these sisters attacking Donald Trump? You got Fani Willis, you got Letitia James. I mean, like, on some pretty big cases. I don't know if I have the answer to that, but that is what has been asked of me. And here's the other thing. So according to the FDNY, the FDNY is now reversing course on the hunt for firefighters who booed Letitia James and cheered Donald Trump's name. So it goes on to say here that the leaders of the New York City Fire Department have extinguished their prospects for a hunt for rank and file members who jeered the Empire State's Attorney General Letitia James when she took the stage at a ceremony last week. Quote, at no point, and here, this is where they're like backtracking. They're like, oh, dang, we done did it now. The last thing we need is firefighters to like quit on the job or freaking boycott like the New York City truck drivers were trying to boycott after the Trump ruling had come down by Judge Engeron, right? So anyway, here we have, they're saying, this is what the FDNY spokesperson is saying. And this is what I want to preface this with letting you know that this completely contradicts what they had said originally. And there's a reason why they're saying this, right? So check this out. They're saying, quote, at no point has there been an investigation into members booing. Do y'all believe this? They're now saying that they were at no point in time was there an investigation into the firefighters who booed. Do you believe this? Like, do they really think that you're that dumb? Do they really think that I'm that dumb, that we are that dumb? I'm literally almost borderline offended by what they're saying here. So the FDNY chief of department, John Hodgins, handed down a fiery list of talking points last week. After some members booed James and chanted Trump, Trump, Trump in the crowd, right? This behavior was unacceptable, and members who appeared on video from the event would be reportedly investigated internally. That sure does sound like a threat to me, right? If your job said you're going to be investigated internally, wouldn't you feel like your livelihood, your job was at risk or threatened? I certainly would. So it went on to say here, quote, BITS is investigating this, so they will figure out who the members are. This came from Hodgins. He was said to have warned in an email to high-ranking FDNY officials on Friday, quote, I recommend that they come forward. I have been told by the commissioner it will be better for them to come forward, and we don't have to hunt them down, end quote. So this is pure crap, if you ask me. But it looks like they're backtracking and they're trying to pull back on what they were saying. Oh, and get this. Now they're trying to say that, check this out. So look at this here. So Staten Island attorney Louis Gelormino, and I always mess up his last name, I apologize, but he's one of the attorneys that came out. He's one of the pair of Staten Island attorneys that came out and basically said, hey, any firefighters who are being attacked legally or being investigated for booing, we got your back. We're going to give you free legal representation in the event that is the case, right? So he came out and said, hey, he said, quote, I think that they're making a mountain out of a molehill. And I totally think that they are. I totally think that they're making it. Do you guys think that this is being blown way out of proportion? Like, what? Unbelievable. It's like, wait. So you're okay with the applause, but you're not okay with the booing if people don't agree. So, but what are we in? Like, are we in a communistic or socialistic society where we can only agree with the narrative? Is that the kind of game that we're playing now? I mean, anyway, quote, let's put this into perspective. It was a smattering of boos when Letitia James took the stage. It wasn't a real outpouring. It was a smattering at best. And then it was for about 15 or 20 seconds of Trump chants. That's it. So yeah, I don't think any firefighters should be reprimanded, put on leave without pay, be demoted or fired or anything like that. So yeah, so they're clearly trying to backtrack now, and it's really funny here. Yeah, so and I started looking at this, and I was like, okay, so what have we seen in the past, in the recent history? Because of this whole Trump ruling in New York City, truckers got really they voiced their opinions. They took full advantage of their First Amendment, and they, expressed, hey, we don't agree with this ruling. Donald Trump is being targeted. This is a political witch hunt against him. We're not going to make deliveries to New York City, right? Well, what have we seen in the past? Well, in the past, we've seen unions representing many of New York City's frontline workers having boycotted. I don't know if you guys remember, there was actually a boycott, where firefighters were boycotting the ticker tape parade. A comment, if you guys remember this, they boycotted the ticker tape parade in their honor because they were saying that the workers were still suffering from the impacts of the pandemic. Meanwhile, other people were angry at the city for not offering hazard pay for essential workers. Remember that? Funny how essential workers ended up getting completely stiffed and they didn't get the money that they were promised, right? The city firefighters union ended up saying that they would boycott the ticker tape parade in Lower Manhattan's Canyon of Heroes, and they would ultimately join some of the EMS workers, the unions of the city's jail workers, and the probationary officers, and most of the local divisions of the city's municipal workers union. The city's municipal workers union, which represents 150,000 members, boycotted the parade in part because of the city's refusal to allow workers to retire early rather than face layoffs, which was a decision that the union vowed not to forget earlier this year. So New York City has made some really, really poor decisions and is driving investors away. They're driving businesses and business owners away. I'm gonna jump in the comments. I want to see what you guys are saying because I'm getting too fired up here. So let's see. Jeffrey Day says Letitia James, Fani Willis, and Alan Bragg are going to get theirs in the end. God will have his glory, and it is happening. Appreciate your comment, Jeffrey Day. Who else we got up in here today? So I just want to see who's in here. So we got Anthony Smitherman. What's going on, brother? We got Tammy Shirk. Love from Ontario, Canada. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. George Freese, so clear. Thank you. Lori Kettering, thumbs up. Thank you so much for your support. Mary Culp. Hello from Fort Myers, Florida. Love your shows. Mary, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys. We got Ohio in the house. I see Margaret 0847. So we got Tennessee in the house, Arkansas. So many of you guys in the comments. Yeah, so Mary Beth Vanderland says, what happened to the First Amendment rights? They can boo whoever they want. She's an evil, disgusting person. I'd boo too. Hey, Mary, I really appreciate your comment. Let's see. So John Gardner says, not to be confused with Stephen Gardner, he says, do you think that they would represent the Gold Star dad they arrested at the State of the Union? That's a very good question. I want to see. I'm pretty sure. I haven't heard it myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if the dad that was arrested at the State of the Union, hopefully you guys remember that situation where the dad was basically yelling at President Biden for not recognizing the Marines that were killed and actually saying out their names. Then they ended up arresting the dad and hauling him off at the State of the Union. It was awful. It was awful. Yeah. So Jolene Ravithis says, awesome attorneys. And I gotta admit, these are awesome attorneys. Absolutely. For them to offer, what do they call it? Pro bono legal counsel to those who don't necessarily have access to it. I think this is absolutely amazing. The amount of support coming out of New York City. People are coming together and they're saying, hey, enough is enough. Lance Mason says, think what she would be saying if the suits she brings were against her. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Mono Ogidi says, I hope they sue her for $455 million. Katie Beatty says Trump 2024. Um, yeah, I think people are waking up. Jolene Rafathis, I think people are absolutely waking up. Yeah, so oh wow. So Kathy 702 says she got her marching orders. The goal is to empty out New York to make room for the 15-minute city. Y'all ready for these 15-minute cities that the World Economic Forum wants to bring into play? I'm not ready for them. I'll tell you that. They want to take all your gas powered cars and give everybody electric scooters instead. Um, so John Gardner says, extinguish my butt. They still have the video, so they'll still ID them. Then the firefighters will suddenly get crap assignments, blocked promotions, etc. So basically, they'll kind of like backdoor these firefighters, is what you're saying, or what you think will happen. It very well could happen. You know, maybe they don't get some official punishment, but maybe the punishment is kind of like unofficial, and you know, you kind of can't, like, you almost can't really prove that they're punishing you, but you know that you are, if that makes any sense. I guess that could happen. I'm purely speculating with that. Hopefully, it doesn't. Um, Man, so Rich Dad of Four says it's like a prequel to the Hunger Games. So yeah. So anyway, I'm happy that they're backtracking on this, or at least it certainly seems like it based on the rhetoric that they're sharing. At worst case, it looks like there is a lot of legal support, big time attorneys who have actually successfully sued New York in the past, standing up for New York City's finest, or New York City's firefighters. So that is definitely what's up. For those of you guys who are just now tuning in, the good news is that you know, the major update for the New York City firefighters who were threatened, the FDNY is reversing course on their hunt for the firefighters who booed Letitia James and cheered on Donald Trump. And it looks like the fire department in New York City will not have to join the New York City truckers in their boycott. So anyway, guys, what's going on, Dallas Haskin? I see you, man. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off. Drop a like for the video. Please continue to support by sharing these videos. I think that, you know, the outpouring of the community speaking up and voicing their opinions is why they're backing this thing out. I'm going to continue to give you guys the updates that you deserve. What's going on, Catalia? I see you. Appreciate the blue. Yeah, I haven't worn a bright blue shirt in a while. But anyway, guys, I'm going to drop off. I appreciate the support so much, you guys. You guys are amazing. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a great night. Take care.